If you guys enjoy what I do, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe. It really helps the channel and it's free and easy to do. Before we get started with today's video, I have an announcement to make. After years of telling other people's stories, I finally released one of my own. My novel Eternal Reign is available now in both ebook and paperback format for those of you who are like me and prefer to collect physical media. You can grab a copy right now on Amazon through the link in the description of this video. And now back to our regularly scheduled program. Maëlle is still not doing well the next morning, so Verso tries to make her feel better, but there's nothing that anyone can say to someone who's lost a family member to make it better, so he gives her Gustav's journal and they all head out. The path to the monolith that Verso knows goes through a quarry that is filled with a lot of dead expeditioners. There's a highly dangerous Nevron that wanders around the area, so he wants to get through the place as fast as possible, but Maëlle wants to bury the last piece of Gustav that she has before they get back to the mission. Lune has a very one-track mind and doesn't want to waste the time, but it's obvious to everyone else that Maëlle needs this, so Ciel wants to find a nice spot for her. Verso has buried a lot of friends, so he knows of a place and is right through the quarry, so the group gets moving. For a while, Verso thinks that they won't have to deal with the single Nevron that killed all of the expeditioners that came through the area. But when they make it to a bridge near the spot that they wanted to go to, a big sword-wielding Nevron destroys it and sends the group falling down to a spot that should have killed them. Since they live, they have to put down the very strong creature before they can move forward, and after a very brutal battle, they manage to win. With that over and done with, they make it to the place that Verso was talking about, and they give Gustav his final send-off before setting up camp and planning out their next step. Verso says that they need to go to Manoko station to get his oldest friend to join their team because they'll need the extra muscle for the next step of taking down the paintress's heart. Walking up to the paintress's monolith is impossible. The chroma around it is so thick that it erases anyone who gets close, but destroying a heart will break the barrier. The heart is somewhere in Old Lumiere, but Verso has no idea what it looks like. Before the fracture, the city of Lumiere, where the expeditioners came from, was a part of a much larger city on the main continent, and Expedition 58 had found the place. Verso had been with them, but Renoir showed up and erased the entire expedition. Manoko station is up in the mountains and covered in snow, something that Ciel is eager to see since it doesn't snow in Lumiere, and her husband had been fascinated by it before he died. Manoko is a gestural searcher, one of the ones who travels the world looking for any gestural who was lost during the fracture, which is one of the main reasons why he doesn't live in the village. That and the fact that he made Golgra want to kill him. The first thing that the gestural does when Verso and the others show up is attack them because that's what they all do. But Manoko has a unique fighting style that they don't really get to see because their fight is cut short when Noko comes running in saying that a really big Nevron is attacking the station. Since there is guests, Manoko gives the expedition the honor of fighting the thing, mainly because he's afraid of fighting that particular type of Nevron due to multiple bad experiences on his other adventures with Verso. When they kill it, he shows off his very weird ability. He steals the thing's foot and uses it to transform into the Nevron. It's one of the oddest abilities that any of them have seen, and Verso still doesn't know why he can do it, but it's very useful. Now that the fighting's over, Verso tells Manoko that they're all about to head to Old Lumiere, which immediately makes the gestural tell them good luck and he's not going since the last trip didn't go well. But this time they have Maëlle with them, so Verso thinks that'll make a difference for reasons that he hasn't told the others. Manoko still says he's never going anywhere with Verso again until he points out that they will definitely be doing a lot of fighting, which makes him change his mind. Noko wants to go too since very few merchants have gone to the city, and since Manoko considers himself a responsible parent, taking his son to one of the most dangerous places in the world seems like a great idea, so they all head off to Old Lumiere. Manoko notices really fast that this is the most depressed expedition that he's ever been a part of, which makes sense since they've had a much worse start than any of the others. He does have an idea on how to cheer them up a bit, but it hurts Verso a lot to do it, since it will give the 3 remaining members of Expedition 33 something else to focus on or cause them to have a heart attack. He agrees to do it. Verso is really immortal, which means he's ended up in some bad spots, including being cut in half. He's been broken apart so many times that he's learned how to talk out of both halves of his body. I don't want to know what he uses for lips and a tongue on his bottom half, but the others spend all night asking him questions, which does make them forget about how miserable they are, at least for a little while, and it makes the trip to Old Lumiere just a bit more pleasant. Old Lumiere is in ruins with no clear path to the center. Fortunately, Manoko is able to knock down a building to clear out a path. The bad news is he does it in the least OSHA-approved way possible and causes Maëlle and Verso to get knocked somewhere far away from Lune and the others. They're pretty sure that they'll meet them at the paintress's heart in the center of the city, so they head there. On the way, Ciel finds another one of Esquia's stones, which he'll probably find useful, so she takes it. They also see a very large and very dead creature next to a journal that was left behind by Expedition 58. The journal says that the dead thing was something called an Axon, but it also has some information about Verso that makes Lune think that finding him and Mael needs to happen immediately. Mael, Verso, and Noko had survived Manoko's explosive demolition, but when they got into a fight with some Nevrons, Verso disappears. Noko says that he does that sometimes, so Mael keeps going until she comes to a mansion that seems familiar to her. It looks a lot like the manor that the curator was keeping her in, and when the door opens, a female Nevron that could be the curator's twin is inside. Verso reappears and tries to rush in, but Renoir is there too, as well as Alicia, and they keep him outside. Renoir is still trying to convince him that he's on the wrong side, but Mael doesn't want to do anything but stab the man since he killed Gustave. He's kind of surprised that she'd be okay with working with Verso since he turns out to be Renoir's son. That was what Lune had discovered in the journal, something she reveals when she and the others show up. She wants to chew Verso out about keeping his family connection to their greatest enemy a secret, but since Verso really wants his new friends to live through what's about to happen, he tells them that he'll explain it after they fight Renoir. The fight doesn't go as poorly as their earlier run-ins with the man, but his most devastating attack does kill Noko. Time freezes for everyone except for Mael after that, and Alicia comes out of the house. She touches Mael, showing her a vision of the house being on fire before time unfreezes and the entire mansion vanishes along with Renoir. The group really needed to get inside of the house if they were going to get to the paintress, but with it gone, the only thing that they have to show for their trip is another lost friend. While the mission was a bust, Lune still wants Verso to explain why he hadn't told them that Renoir was his father. He hasn't talked to the man in decades, and to be honest, he didn't think it was any of their business since it had nothing to do with what they were doing. Some of the stories that Lune's heard say that the Gestrals can be brought back to life, but according to Manoko, when they come back, they're not exactly the same. Their memories are gone, so the Noko who had been traveling with them is gone for good. So on this little trip, they lost a friend, and without access to the paintress's heart, there is no easy way to reach her. Expedition 58's journal said that Verso does know another way to get through the barrier, which he does, but he didn't think it was worth mentioning since it's impossible. It involves the curator Nevron. He can make a weapon that's powerful enough to break the barrier if they get the hearts of the Axons, which are pure chroma. The Axons are extremely large creatures that live on the islands around the monolith, and they are so strong that Verso is almost positive that the expeditioners can't beat them. He's fought them, and even though he's immortal, he couldn't win. There was a dead one in Old Lumiere, so they can be killed, but he has no idea who did that, and he doesn't want to have to bury his new friends when they fail to bring one down. Since they're dying in a few months anyway, Lune and the others have no reason not to go. Since they're not going to be talked out of this, Verso helps them plan. There are 3 Axons in total, and they'll need to take down 2 of them to get what they need. One is too high up in the mountains for them to reach, but there's one that's already been weakened from fighting other expeditioners. So Verso wants to start with that one to give them a chance. Lune thinks that's a good idea, so after getting a bit of sleep, they all set off to fight the strongest creatures in the world so they can get their hands on a weapon that'll let them face off against the thing that made them. Since the expedition has a plan, granted it's a very dangerous one, the smart thing to do would be to get some rest before heading out, but no one is really able to sleep, so they just spend the time talking. Mael figures out that Alicia is Verso's sister, which isn't that hard to do, but she wants to know why the woman never talks and just stares. Verso doesn't really want to talk about it, but he does tell her that she had gotten trapped in a fire that messed up her face and her throat. He has no idea why she went to see Mael, but she had helped him in the past and he had thought that she'd help him get to the paintress's heart, but this time she seems to have sided with Renoir. Their family clearly has issues, but since Mael didn't exactly grow up in a stable family herself, she doesn't hold it against him. The island where the first Axon lives is a very strange place, with a whole bunch of giant floating masks everywhere. The Axon is just as creepy and very large, but it doesn't attack them as soon as they show up. Instead, it opens a path for them, which Verso is 100% sure is a trap. Things get even more creepy when a smaller but still very large creature tells them that the Axon wants them to meet him in his chamber at the end of the 4th path. But they can explore the other paths if they want to, and they may find some useful information if they do. Since walking directly into a trap is never smart, they decide to explore the island a bit. They come across some more weird giant masks that ask them some seemingly random questions before sending weird Nevrons to attack them. When they beat the things, they hear the Axon scream in the distance like something hurt it, so they decide that it may be a good idea to take out all of the other creatures in the area too, since it may make fighting the Axon easier. When they've done all they can to weaken the thing, they finally go to face it. It's as strong as Verso said it would be, but the expedition manages to beat the giant thing only to find out that the real Axon wasn't the mountain-sized creature that they had faced, but the smaller one that had talked to them earlier. With a great deal more effort, they overpower the Axon only for him to put masks on the faces of each of the members of the expedition. The masks paralyze all of them, making them pretty easy targets. But the only one that it doesn't work on is CL, because while all of the rest of the members of the expedition have personal issues to work out, CL is at peace with herself. She lives with her issues every day, so having them brought to the forefront by a mask that represents a strong hidden emotion won't really be all that effective on her. That gives her the chance to remove the Axon's mask, killing it and taking its chroma, which is the first half of what they need to forge their weapon. When they get back to the camp with the chroma, Lune tries to give it to the curator, but for some reason he'll only accept it from Mael. When she hands it to him, his face turns into Renoir's for a moment, which freaks Mael out. It only lasts for a second, but it's enough to make her extremely uncomfortable. Strange occurrences aside, they've completed half of their goal, so they take a break to get ready for the next monster, which Verso says will be a lot stronger. The next island is much different from the last one, and so is the Axon. She's an enormous dancing woman named Serene, and the minute the expedition gets close to them, Serene starts to control their emotions, making them lose control of their minds. Monoko's bell pushes the Nevron's power away, but it'll be worse the closer they get to her. Verso has seen some people lose themselves just by looking at her, and when they did, they threw themselves off of the cliff. Expedition 67 had destroyed a lot of the walls in the place, making a path to one of the creatures that creates a lot of the things for Serene. So the expedition destroys it, since taking down any of the Axon's helpers will probably be a good idea. Then they make their way to the Axon herself. The group is able to hold off her power for a little while, but she shows them what they want most, and they are eventually taken by the illusion. All except for Lune, whose greatest desire is to do what her parents wanted and defeat the paintress. The Axon is intrigued by her ability to resist her powers, and that gives Lune the chance to get close and deliver the killing blow, giving them the final bit of chroma that they need to complete the weapon. Mael gives it to the curator and time freezes again. She sees Alicia for a moment, but she transforms into the female curator and very forcefully knocks Mael back into reality. The fact that she's the only one who can see these things is really weird, but when the curator finishes the barrier breaker weapon, the weird incident is forgotten. They have one last night of rest before they face the paintress, and they spend it drinking because Verso stored his personal stash of wine inside of Esquier, and the giant oddball told CL about it. Once they've drank him dry, Verso heads off to be alone and his sister shows up. She gives him a letter and he gives her a hug. He clearly cares about her, something that Renoir points out when he shows up. Knowing that Verso loves his sister, he can't understand why he's trying so hard to kill them all. The man hasn't come there to fight, but he's trying to make Verso understand what will happen to them if the paintress dies. She dies and everything she made dies, including his entire family. Renoir wants him to stop, but if he shows up to the monolith, then he'll know that he really plans on killing his entire family, and he'll handle him accordingly, meaning he won't be holding anything back like he did in Old Lumiere, and he will kill them all to protect his family, even if that means killing his own son. With the barrier-breaking weapon finally ready, Expedition 33 heads to the monolith. Mael uses it to cut through the barrier, and the expedition is finally able to reach the paintress. She's as big as an Axon, and despite them hitting her as hard as they can, she doesn't even look up to see them. After a moment, the entire area shifts, and the female curator Nevron appears. She shows Mael, CL, and Lune a vision of them all being on fire, one that feels very real to them, before she opens a portal into the monolith itself. The expedition follows her inside, and they arrive in a completely different world that's made up of all of the different places that they've been to around the continent. Mael can sense the paintress's heart somewhere above them, so they head toward it past what she's sure are a lot of the paintress's memories. When they reach the end of the path, Renoir is there to block their way, and he tries one more time to convince Verso to stop fighting them. Once that fails, he turns his full power on them. He's just as immortal as Verso, so he heals from everything that they do to him over and over again until the curator shows up. Renoir knows who he is, so he doesn't even try to fight him when he takes Mael's hand, puts it on his chest, and disintegrates him before he leaves. The fact that Mael was able to completely destroy Renoir with just a little bit of guidance is something that they're all confused about, including her. But she thinks that she can do it again to the paintress, so they head off to put an end to it all. Once they get a good look at her and really think about what Renoir had said to the curator, they realize that the paintress is his wife. She seems to be babbling, but Lune and Ciel start to figure out that Alicia is the paintress's daughter, and Maëlle looks like her. When she realizes that Maëlle and Verso aren't her children, she claims that they must be creations of someone else meant to trick her into not killing them. That makes her upset and she attacks the expedition. As they fight, the paintress proves to be so strong that the expedition has to even bring Esquier in to help, but after the longest battle that they've had yet, they finally complete their mission and beat the paintress. With her weakened, Maëlle uses her new powers to disintegrate the woman who's been terrorizing her people for decades. And with her death, the number on the monolith finally vanishes. With their mission a success, they plant what will be the final expedition flag and head back to Lumiere to let everyone know that it's finally over. The people of Lumiere are happy to see them and sad once they find out just how many people won't ever be coming back, but Maëlle and the others are celebrated as heroes. Verso's the only one who doesn't seem too happy, and he goes off by himself to read the letter that his sister had given to him. The letter hadn't been meant for him at all. She had wanted him to give it to Maëlle to tell her the truth about who she is, the world they're in, and what would happen if they killed the paintress. Verso kept the letter from her because he knew that if she knew, she would have never gone through with killing the paintress, because she wasn't the one who was erasing everyone. She was keeping the ones that she could alive for as long as she could, and without her, there wouldn't be only a handful of people wiped out every year. They would all vanish at once. And that's exactly what happens. While they're celebrating, the people of Lumiere all vanish right before Maëlle's eyes. Then she disappears too. This concludes Act 2 of Clair Obscur Expedition 33. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to like it, comment, share it, and subscribe. Grab a copy of my novel on your way out, and I'll see you all next time.